OMG. They hooked him. They got him. Alex Jones. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm going to be honest with you. InfoWars, at least with the way it's set up, but like the way it's like an anchor station, competing as if it's competing with the majors, it is not going to be the same. The jury for the Sandy Hook, lawsuit, where he basically said that didn't happen, he basically is ordered to pay $45.2 million more over the Sandy Hook lies. So I'm going to read to you from NBC News. And that was basically, it's no joke. You got to watch what you say out here in the streets. But let's get into it, shall we? Because I'm going to break it all down. Because 14 years ago, I was actually watching Alex Jones. So, Mr. Jones yesterday was ordered to pay $4.1 million to the families for the suffering he and his website broadcast caused them. Now, today, Alex Jones must pay more than $45 million in punitive damages to the family of the Sandy Hook massacre victims. Jury orders. A Texas jury on Friday ordered Alex Jones to pay $45.2 million in punitive damages to the parents of the Sandy Hook elementary school shooting victim. A day after deciding the InfoWars hosts must pay the $1.4 million in compensatory damages for the suffering caused by the lies about the 2012 massacre. Wesley Ball, an attorney for Scarlett Lewis and Neil Helsland, whose 6-year-old son Jesse was killed in the attack in Newtown, Connecticut, had asked the jury to award them $149.5 million to reach the $150 million they initially sought. Ball argued that only such a large sum would be enough to take the bullhorn away from Jones. I ask that with your verdict, you not only take Alex Jones' platform that he talks about away, I ask that you make sure that he can't rebuild that platform. That's what matters. He said, that is punishment. That is deterrence. Jones's attorney, Andino Reynal, told jurors they had already sent a message to Jones and other talk show hosts with the $4.1 million judgment that their standard of care has to be different. He also argued that a substantial award would only serve to discourage people who question government officials who dropped the ball from doing so. Reynal objected to the decision, arguing that the verdict did not comply with Texas law, which caps the actual award at $750,000 per plaintiff. The judge acknowledged the objection and added that the law implies in the state we don't trust juries. Punitive damages are intended to punish someone especially harmful behavior. The jury's decision followed expert testimony from forensic economist Bernard Pettingill, whose testimony was intended to give jurors a picture of how much money Jones has and, by extension, how much it would take to punish him for his behavior. Pettingill estimated that Jones and his companies are worth $135 million to $270 million, an amount his defense team disputed, and said that Jones and his companies made more money after being deplatformed by several social media outlets in 2018. Jones has maintained throughout the trial that his company suffered losses since it was removed from the sites. Pettingill also testified that Jones began paying $11,000 a day into a shell company he controls after he was found liable in a default judgment in the Sandy Hook case. He is a very successful man, he testified. He promulgated some hate speech and some misinformation, but he made a lot of money and he monetized that. The jury in this case had only been asked to decide whether Jones, who has already been found liable by a judge because he did not hand over critical evidence before the trial began, must also pay Jesse's parents for the emotional distress and reputation damage caused by false testimony. The trial includes testimony from both parents and Jones, who has portrayed the lawsuit as an attack on his First Amendment rights. Following the massacre, he had asserted that it was fabricated and included crisis actors. He later acknowledged that it took place. Helslin and Lewis testified Tuesday that Jones's lies left them in fear for their lives and compounded their grief. Now, this is tough for me to read. I'm going to skip that. The crux of the trial is a 2017 episode of NBC Sunday Night with Megyn Kelly, on which Helslin appeared and challenged Jones, the knowledge student. Helslin says in the episode, "I held my son with a bullet hole." Well, Jones and another InfoWars host, Owen Schroyer, later implied that Helslin had lied. Helslin and Lewis were among several Sandy Hook families who have filed lawsuits against Jones, arguing that his statements that the mass shooting was a hoax have led to years of abuse from his followers. And let me say something, they're rightly entitled to that money. And I'm going to break it down why. I started watching Alex Jones in 2008. And it was because I basically was going through a health issue. And I wasn't independent. And I wasn't able to be on my own like I was before. So I would basically, watch with my niece, Alex Jones, this man. I never heard of him before until that time. And this was around the time when Obama was running for office the first time. And this is when they talked about, different things, the birthday issue, the birth certificate, his citizenship, things of that nature. But as time went on, I noticed that he basically was going into real deep conspiracy theories. Like he went from being a constitutionalist to these deep theories. When Sandy Hook occurred, he said it was fake. He mentioned the crisis actors. Now, this is where he should have just stopped and not said anything. But here was what the problem was. He's a 2A man. And he felt that the Sandy Hook was a false incident to take away gun owners' weapons. So his followers basically charged behind him and they supported him and they went after the actual families, the victims' families, mainly the parents. These parents were verbally assaulted online, threatened, and many of them came from Alex Jones, fan base. They were stalking them. I mean, it was bad. And in 2016, the parents had enough. So they sought legal counsel, and rightfully so. And now we've come to this $45.2 million punitive damage judgment. And I agree with it. Now, here's where the problem lies. He's going to have to pay that money. The question is, are you going to keep InfoWars afloat? Because many people have told me that of all the conspiracy theorists, Alex Jones is the one person whose theories have never been debunked. They've actually happened. This is a person who spoke about Pizzagate. This is a person who spoke about, the Ovid. And this is a person who basically has a lot, believe it or not, his products sell. But I have issues with him because you got two white supremacists on your show. One who blatantly doesn't like black people, Nick Fuentes. That is scary that you co-sign them, but you claim you're not a racist yourself. That is horrible. Now, do I think that the parents, sued him to have him as a platform? Yeah. They want him gone. But here's the thing. First Amendment, to a point, protects him. See, First Amendment protects you as long as you're not lying and committing libel. He committed that. And he admitted, I lied. But you know why he did it? To sensationalize the situation so they can get viewership from his fans. Because you got to remember something, Obama got re-elected in 2012, the month prior. And then Sandy Hook happened. So it's like he needed to get things back, because it was like y'all was trying to get this man. It never happened. So we got to come up with something else. So now his reputation is destroyed, because if he admitted that he lied about Sandy Hook being, a sham, what else did you lie about? You understand? So now your conspiracy theories are going to be totally debunked, and so will everyone else that is adjacent to you. And I believe this is the beginning of the end of the alt-right movement. I believe this is the end. They're collapsing. And with that being said, I'm signing off. Thank you for tuning in, and I hope you have a good night.